Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
Okay, it's Friday night, Gridiron Grinder time. I'm Ryan. With me, as always, is my buddy James. Just a couple of dudes hanging out talking about what's going on in the NFL each week. This is episode 107, solidly in the triple digits. We rock this shit out every Friday, pretty much. Sometimes Wednesdays or Thursdays, but almost every Friday. And so for tonight, we're really going to do our normal agenda as we've been doing. We kick things off with Name That Stadium, a little game we like to play. Then we do our recap of this past week, what's going on news-wise around the NFL, all that kind of jazz. After that, we're going to continue where we left off last week, which is doing an outlook on the teams in the AFC and NFC West. And last but not least, we'll do question of the week. And so, with all that being said, how's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's going good, man. I was looking at our numbers. We talked last week. We got two videos in the triple digit territory, and our AFC NFC East session had pretty strong week one numbers. And so I kind of follow some of the trends, and it seems like we get like 3 or 4 weeks of like a trickle effect, and then the videos just go cold. And I know that once the regular season starts, that changes because the stuff's really only relevant for about a week at a time. But uh, we did good, man. We got, some solid numbers for last week. And so, we called out at the start of the show. We were looking for support. I think we got it. And hopefully people will keep throwing it our way, man. It's been pretty good.
That's cool.
It is cool. All right, so let's move it over. Let's do Name That Stadium. For anybody who's watching, this is a part of the show. You can see James is out there traveling the country. It looks like he's got a favorite place because I'm seeing things I've seen before, but no big deal. We'll get to that later. Anyhow, we just do a little game. If you think you know what stadium is in the background there, hit us up in our comments section. The first person to get the right answer will get a shout out in next week's show. I promise you one day, if things keep going in this direction, we'll have some swag, we'll hook some people up. But for right now, we'll give you your 15, not 15 minutes, but 15 seconds of fame. So, James, where were you at last week, man?
Last week I was at what was it, Lincoln Financial Field or whatever in Philadelphia. I kind of, Phillies. We'll get to this a little bit later, but Philly's one of those teams I have my eye on this year. And
Yeah.
since we were talking about the East, I went with the team in one of the Eastern divisions then, and it just happened to be Philly because Buffalo I thought would have been too obvious because I've been talking about how Buffalo's going to the Super Bowl for like 2 years, and we're like, oh, he's at Buffalo.
Yeah, and I mean, Philly's getting a ton of hype this year, and rightfully so. When we dug in, looked at it, the model is showing that they actually have a really talented roster, a
Mm-hmm.
really deep roster too. And I think a lot of it hinges on Jalen Hurts, but they've set him up to succeed. He's got a good offensive line, lots of good receiving talent, solid tight end. The running backs, I think whatever you want to say about Miles Sanders, they've got a stable of running backs that you can rotate in a committee efficiently or effectively. And then the defense is looking really good again. I mean, their defensive line looks solid. Their secondary is better than it's been in a really long time. I can get behind that hype train for Philly, man. And then, you know, I love me some Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and so nice choice with the stadium pick because that's in their intro for that show, which is nice. So
Yeah, and the other thing you mentioned, Philly getting a lot of hype and Hurts. I was reading earlier that Hurts the Goddard was looking legit during the early part of the preseason game today. I obviously I haven't been able to. I haven't. I'm not watching the game, but I mean, from what I saw, he was like 6 for 6 or 7 for 7
okay,
for like 80 yards. I mean, yeah,
nice.
it's not.
No, for a
Hurts the Goddard, yeah.
preseason game, that's what you want, man. You want good, decent stats, nothing crazy because you don't want to be putting these guys out there exposing them to get injured or whatever else. But You want them shaking off that rust, getting into a little bit of a rhythm, and we'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, but it seems like for the most part, teams that have a lot of new pieces or that are, sort of like that bottom tier of teams, those are the guys that you can see some starters this week in preseason. Most of the other teams, the established guys, they're not playing, they're not taking any chances, and there's no reason to really. But I do like seeing some of these teams, like the Lions. They had their starters out earlier in the first quarter. I think that's important when you're at the bottom working your way up.
Mhm.
You got to take those extra hits because you really do need those reps to get into a groove, to gel with your teammates, and to take that step forward.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned the Lions. I'm a little disappointed that David Blau is the leading rusher in the preseason game so far, and I was looking at that with 22 yards rushing.
Okay. Well, here, let's just cut it over, James. Let's cut it over. Let's do the recap of the past week, and let's start with the Lions, okay? So they're playing right now, assuming it's still going on. I caught part of the first quarter on my drive home from work. I heard the offense looked good. They scored a touchdown. They said Goff looked like he was doing a good job. And then I heard the defense looked bad, which is what I expected. And so, James, last week was the first episode of Hard Knocks, which is featuring the Lions.
Hmm.
Let me ask you, did you get to catch that, man?
Fuck yeah! I fucking
Okay.
took time off work the next day to watch it. Are you kidding me?
Okay. Well, I'm glad. But yeah, I scrambled to sign up for HBO Max just to make sure I could get it. And um, I'll say this: I love the coaching staff, like crazy. Love the coaching staff. All of these guys, they're former players, which I think helps them relate to the players. But they have a lot of charisma. But they also seem like they really know what they're talking about. Like they're not just a former player that maybe didn't make it as a player and so he went into coaching. These were guys that had success on the field, and it
Hmm.
looks to me like they really know how to communicate to other guys how to have that success. But my big concern, and it's a small sample size, is that the practices they showed, the tackling looked really freaking weak, and I was worried about the defense going into tonight's game, and I will be worried about them going into the regular season. It looked like guys aren't wrapping people up. They're not really tackling with good form. There's a lot of high tackling, which is just sloppy. It doesn't really, it's not that effective. And so, hopefully they lock it down. But that's also why they were tackling, they were doing padded practices earlier on when people weren't. And that's why they were putting the starters out there tonight when other teams aren't. And so, what do you think, man? What's your thoughts on this whole thing?
Well, when you mentioned the coaches, and I heard the perfect representation of what you'd refer to the Lions. Like the Lions coaching staff, all these players, they're all ex-players, but they were glue guys on their team.
Hmm.
They were, they held those teams together. They were that key piece that for those teams, which is great. And I was high on Campbell when they hired him. I heard nothing but good things. I remember talking about it with you, and you were kind of down on it, like, well, he was just a tight ends coach, and it was a lot like Brad Holmes. He was like a scout or so, not even a scout, but he was like number 3 or number 4, not even the second guy in with the Rams. But I think they're putting together the pieces. They
Yeah.
have that coaching staff. Yeah, yeah. The problem is, and that's the thing I really liked, especially when you go to Hard Knock, was who was it when he was being interviewed? Shep. When he was talking about how when he was hired, he was talking, he cut his dreads off, this and that, and Campbell
Oh,
was like,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
no, be you. I'm hiring you because of who you are. I'm not hiring you for who you think I want. I'm hiring you for you, and be yourself. And that's one thing in within a winning franchise. I mean, aside from New England, which is Belichick's personality, no matter what.
Yeah.
Like most of the winning franchises, you allow the players to be themselves and just mold them to what they need to do and get them to do what they need to do. And there's different kinds of motivation, but I really like that. I'm gonna let you be yourself. I'm gonna be myself. I'm not gonna change for anything. You're gonna be who you are. And if you're not worried about how you're acting, and not necessarily how you're acting, that's not right. But if you're not worried about trying to be somebody else, you can legitimately be yourself and have success.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just have the common goal, follow his couple of simple rules, and put your head down and get to work, right? So,
Oh, and
I like it. There's a lot of intensity, and yeah, I mean, hey, it's hard to not scrutinize any coaching pick that the Lions make because their history is so poor. But I do remember when they went with him, and I mean, immediately we heard all sorts of rave reports from New Orleans and pretty much like all the guys that this guy was connected with that, you know, really solid stand-up guy. Players loved him, people followed him, and lots of intensity. And I mean, he's been everything that he was advertised to be once all that started kind of coming out. I mean, ever since he did the bite in the kneecaps thing last year, and even in Hard Knocks, you just see it. The guy's got nothing but intensity, man, and he wants the best not just for him but for the entire team. And I think that's why
what
they
was it they
brought.
said in Hard Knocks? So you have one ass cheek and three toes. I'm still gonna beat your ass.
Yeah, yeah. No, and they brought back a lot of the guys from last year, which I think a lot of people would question. They'd say, hey, you need to be turning over this roster. And some of it was, him basically saying he believes in these guys and they just need time to make it work. And that's cool, man. It's, I'm hoping it pays off. I really am.
Yeah,
Okay.
fuck, Atlanta took the lead.
It's
Sorry.
preseason. Who gives a shit?
I know, but still,
You still want to win like the
I still
the
want to win.
Harbaugh 21 straight preseason wins or whatever?
Yeah, fourth and 9 on the 21-yard line, and Atlanta scored a touchdown. It was like, damn it! After this possession started because David Blau fucking fumbled the ball on the Lions 33. Anyways,
If
back
we
to what we
need
were talking
Boyle
about.
or Blau in regular season action, the season's over. So come on.
This is true. This is true.
We do not have a sufficient backup.
Yeah. Speaking of quarterbacks, did you catch anything that happened with the Tennessee game and Malik Willis?
I just saw, right, I read about him getting a touchdown on the ground and people saying through the air, largely ineffective, but you can see, he's got that raw ability, like the strong arm, and he's mobile. But that there's definitely a lot of work he needs to do as a passer. But what's going on?
So, and the shock was how honest Vrabel was uh, about it in the post-game press conference. In the second half, I believe it was, after like the second play of the first drive, Vrabel pulled his ass.
Oh, gotcha.
And he was asked why he pulled him, and he said, because I wanted him to fucking throw the ball. And he wasn't throwing the ball.
Ah, okay.
So
Yeah, which that's a bad sign. Is it
Mhm.
you're not processing it fast enough to get the ball out, so you're defaulting to run? I don't know. That makes me nervous. But he's
Yeah,
he's a rookie.
what Vrabel explained was, I was trying to explain to him that it doesn't have to be perfect every time. You don't have to have the perfect coverage. These guys are NFL receivers. They can make the play.
Yeah.
You just have to be able to trust them and throw the ball. So it was more of a he was kind of like hesitant. It's not 100% perfect, so I'm not going to
I
throw it.
gotcha. Yeah.
And
If he
it's
doesn't
still
get the perfect look, he might as well run it instead.
Yeah, but it's terrible. Like he should be way far ahead of that, and especially what he showed at Cincinnati. I thought he was ahead of that Cincinnati, right?
No, he was
Yeah, I think so.
like Liberty or whatever.
Yeah, Ritter was Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Willis was Liberty. That's right. Sorry, I got
No,
Ritter.
it's all right. It's all right. We have
I,
those, the wires get crossed every now and then.
I got Ritter confused
Because he's
I was
playing.
thinking because he's playing right now, and I have the game, the Gamecast, this the on NFL or CBS.com that's showing
Sure, I
nothing
know
but
you're watching it in the background, James. You don't have
it's
to
not
hide it from me.
it's not the actual game. I don't
Okay,
it's not
okay.
on
If
here,
it
but
was, I wouldn't be mad, you know.
I'm watching the play by play
You
basically,
just
and that's
tell our
really
viewers, hey, it's so important, I gotta multitask.
yeah. And speaking of preseason games, like the Browns and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
Um, well, not as well. First of all, Deshaun Watson kind of apologized to everything, showed remorse
okay.
um, when he was coming off the bus for he said, "I'm sorry for all my off the field actions" or something, some bullshit. Like he's just doing that. And if you're gonna do that, why not do that like a fucking year ago when all this shit came out? Not now after the judge says, "Oh well, he shows no remorse for it." But the other thing about the Browns is, and which is concerning, is Nick Harris on the second play of the game was carted off the field with what looked like a serious knee injury.
Ooh, okay.
Their center, so that's going to be concerning for the running game there.
Yeah, I don't like that. Hmm. Yeah, that's tough, man. I was gonna say I thought they had a different guy at center, but yeah, I guess he was a free agent, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Okay,
but Nick Harris is projected to be their starting center this
okay.
year.
Yeah, I mean Watson, we keep hearing about it, and I don't know. It's weird talking about it because it's like, you know, there wasn't enough evidence or whatever for it to be done criminally, so it was all civilly. But it's just the volume of women involved. It just looks bad, and it's hard to not think he did something inappropriate. But
Mhm.
I also feel like when we talk negatively about him, it's like, well, okay, are we falling into the trap because we don't really know, and we're just kind of now filling in blanks? I don't know, man. It's bad. Whatever it
Well,
is, it's
well,
bad.
if you read the report from Sue L. Robinson, which I think L stands for loss because she really fucked this up.
Okay.
Um, she she referred to him as a sexual predator,
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
and the league is the and so apparently Watson said he would accept 8 games and a $5 million fine, some last push effort not to be suspended for the whole season. But it's just like I
No,
just
the
want
league the league might as well go for the jugular now because
yeah.
you're setting the tone for future
Mhm.
incidents now that you're using third party arbitrators getting involved in this stuff. I mean, it's you gotta set it, you gotta, like, whatever you want the standard to be, this is now it because it's the most public these have been. You have more people involved than you've had before. I
Mhm.
mean, this is the one to make the stand on now. So
Yeah.
all right, well, let's keep going here because, man, we talk about Watson every week. It just fucking pisses me off. But all right, Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
You may have seen this, James. Looks like he's going to miss week 1 of the preseason with COVID. He tested positive. We know
Again.
last year, Zimmer made a huge deal out of him not being vaccinated, or however it went down. Like it was looked at negatively, and it was public and whatever. But really, how big of a deal is it? Because in reality, like we talked about, unless you're a team like the Lions or the Falcons or one of these guys, a starter like Cousins probably isn't playing in this week anyhow. And
Hmm.
then I don't know. I mean, the CDC just opened up some of the COVID stuff again yesterday. It just seems like people are moving on finally, and so
Yeah.
I don't know how big of a deal this is. It just it obviously hit NFL.com, and you got two sides of the fence. One side wants to blow it up and be like, "Oh my God, get vaccinated. What's wrong with you?" But it's not affecting a regular season game. and it's really probably not changing what they were going to do in this preseason game anyhow. So I just assume dismiss it basically.
Yeah, and also the thing with thing with it is the NFL has like not doesn't have their testing that they had the last 2 years in place. The only time that people get tested is if they report symptoms or if
Yeah.
they have symptoms. So
And
it's
it's a shorter time that you're out now too, isn't it?
yeah. And so Cousins had symptoms. He was tested. He tested positive, so he had to sit out. If he was vaccinated, would he have not gotten COVID? He probably still would have gotten it because the vaccine's not to
Yeah,
prevent
this
you from getting.
BA5, it seems like it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but the vaccine's not to prevent you from getting it. It's to prevent you from getting serious
oh yeah,
have
just
serious
reduce
issues with
the severity.
reduce the severity of it.
I mean, honestly, I would probably say, hey, this is actually a good thing for the Vikings because now he's got it right before the season starts. He's probably going to have a heightened level of immunity, at least for a couple months, which
Hmm.
kind of gives him maybe a good feeling for the season. It's like, he's going to be less likely to get it mid-season now.
Yeah, and
So,
it's something like this. The studies, and I'm not involved in the studies, and it's not this definitely not a political comment. Something
yeah,
among the studies say when you get it, you have immunity for somewhere around 6 months.
yeah.
So get them
I've heard
through
it's
the
coming
season.
down, but yeah, I've heard it's now like they're saying more like 3 to 6. But it
Yeah.
just it's I think some of that's because the BA5 has been such a different kind of animal.
Hmm.
But either way, I mean, if you could get 3 months where you feel like you're in the clear, that's taken up most of the fucking season. So,
Yeah, and the thing with the BA5 is it's more transmissible,
mm-hmm,
but they're finding that it's less severe.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's good because, I'm convinced earlier on in COVID when these guys were getting it like Cam Newton and whoever else, it seemed pretty apparent that it was affecting them on the field
Uh-huh.
even when they were back. And my bout with it was I got it bad respiratory, and I could see how that could mess you up, especially if you're a pro athlete. If it gets in your lungs like that, man, that'd be tough. It'd be tough playing a game where you got to be freaking sprinting and going all at it, man. So, but all right, keeping it moving. I mean, I'll defend Kirk Cousins all day, you know that. But
Yeah.
uh, I saw an article, James, and I don't know a ton about it. I'm hoping maybe you do. There was something about dementia cases, and the article, I only skimmed it, but it looked like it was saying something about concern that the testing for concussions and dementia in former players was racially biased
Hmm.
somehow. And so now there's been a change to how they do this to make it more neutral. And that's all I know. But I'm going to look more into it. Maybe you know more. You can enlighten me. I just, man, I read it and I'm like, fucking hey, man, here we are again. It's fucking 2022 and you keep hearing shit like this. It's just like, guys, man, whatever it is, it's got to be fair. Like, it just, I don't know, dude. Like, I hate even seeing a hint of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so like I didn't read the article. You mentioned it, so I just pulled the article up and I was skimming it while you're talking about it. So apparently there was they their tests were rescored. A pair of former players sued for $1 billion retirees in the league's $1 billion concussion settlement. I'm trying to find like their tests were rescored to eliminate race bias, and
Yeah.
as
Yeah. Why would that even be a factor? Like it should all be neutral so that there's never any.
holy shit, this is terrible.
Okay, yeah. So I was worried that there was as soon as I saw the racially biased stuff, I was like, wait a minute, this is not good.
Holy shit, this is terrible. Okay, so the lawsuit by these men, they were able to show that the dementia tests were being race normed, Adjusted due to the assumption that black people have a lower cognitive baseline score. So
I don't even want to comment. It's just
I
bad.
yeah, that's why I said, holy shit, this is terrible. This is
All right, and so they're saying now these tests have been rescored.
yeah. So what they did was they took out the adjustment to make it race normed,
Yeah,
and with those new
more of them
scores,
now qualified for the
exactly,
benefit. Yeah,
yeah, 646 people's six okay of the 646 black men whose tests were rescored, nearly half now qualify for dementia awards. 61 are classified as having early to moderate dementia, with average awards topping 600 grand, while nearly 250 more have milder dementia and will get up to 35 grand in enhanced medical testing and treatment.
okay. Well, all right, they're correcting it, but it's pretty shameful that
Yeah.
they did that, you know. And I mean, hey, I don't know how it got there. You know, I'm sure that we'll hear somebody come out and talk about, oh, well, we've got all these statistics and studies and scientific evidence, and you know, and then somebody else will be like, okay, you're stupid. You know, like how could you think that? But I don't know, man. For me, it's kind of like all men are created equal, and you know, I don't know, unless you got some fucking damn good evidence to suggest otherwise, that's not a good situation. So,
Yeah. It's not a good situation.
all right, well,
Let's
moving on. This is not as big a news, but I thought it was something I'd call out was tight end Adam Shaheen, however you say his name. It's a nice little psych. The Dolphins tried trading him to the Houston Texans. I was actually a little bit excited about the move because a few years back, this guy was a second round pick to the Bears. I do remember some of his early action. The guy showed some really good potential, but he ended up failing a physical. Sounds like he's got some knee issues, and it's unfortunate. Maybe that's kind of why his career didn't quite take off the way many people were expecting. But I thought he was going to be a good fit in Houston. Now he's back with the Dolphins. They're saying he's going to be buried on that depth chart,
mhm.
and I'm hearing quite potentially going to be released at some point. But um, you know, it's a bummer, man. I hate seeing things like this where you get a guy loads of potential and then injuries derail that path, man.
Yeah, it happens all the time. I mean, it's the nature of the beast.
It's a
I I
brutal
had
sport, man. Yeah.
I had missed this week, so I don't have much on it. I didn't even know that the Dolphins and Texans were going to trade. I didn't know the Texans were even interested in people that could play football. So
Uh, well, they probably thought they were getting a bargain. Hey, former second round pick, you know, we're swapping late round draft picks and we're getting the guy, and they, you know, could have used him. I think they have a tight end that people are. I'd have to look. I know they got a guy, a younger guy, but you know, probably wanted to fill that room a little bit. But it's a brutal game, and you know, probably the bigger one, the more important one to talk about is Mekhi Becton, Mount Becton, as he's been known. He's gonna be out for the year, James. And you
mhm.
messaged me this when it happened. The dude broke his kneecap, and I don't know, man. I thought that's what happened when you messed with the mafia, but apparently that can happen when you play football too.
Yeah, and they signed somebody, which it's a
Oh yeah,
great.
I was
I
going there
forget who it
next,
is.
but yeah, take
I forget who it
Hike.
was, but like
Oh, they signed
I
Dwayne
saw
Brown, dude.
Dwayne Brown. Thank you. I was like, it's Brown,
Yeah,
and I
it
could
was
only come up with
like a
Orlando Brown.
2 year $22 million deal. It was solid.
Uh-huh.
And Dwayne
It's
Brown, he's long in the tooth, but he is a rock solid tackle, man.
exactly which I read that and I was fucking ecstatic for them.
Yeah, that was
Um,
a really smart move for them to jump on him.
yeah, and I mean that I think he can take that place, and Becton, just take your time, come back healthy,
Yeah.
you got Dwayne Brown will lock it down on the left side for them.
Yeah, and I think Becton, unfortunately, is going to have a problem coming back now. I think, yeah, he's got to do everything in his power to come back healthy,
Hmm.
stronger, better. But I think because now he's missed so much time in his young career, I think the Jets, it's going to be a bitter kind of situation where he's one of these guys that's going to need a fresh start somewhere else.
Yeah,
And if I'm a
yeah,
GM, I'm going to keep an eye on this situation, 6, 8 months from now and see if maybe I can make a move because I'd give the guy a chance. Um, and I got to believe they're going to be thinking, hey, clean slate. It didn't work here. You go somewhere else. So,
yeah. And the Jets might have more problems anyways. Apparently, in today's preseason game, Zach Wilson took an awkward cut on a scramble and left the game limping,
oh, okay.
which is there's no I mean it's so new. There's not much reporting on it, but it's something to keep an eye on for them. I mean, I don't have that good of an outlook for the big of an outlook for the Jets anyways, but
Yeah. I mean, it might be better without him. I don't know. Maybe they'll trade for Garoppolo, reunite him with Robert Saleh, and boom, they're winning 4 games
yeah. See, what I'm reading a lot is like I had read that Cleveland was out on
on Jimmy G.
Jimmy G, and then I've started seeing more on if if Watson's suspended for much more than 8 games, that they would consider trading for Jimmy G, and they're
Yeah.
kind of starting to get the feelers out there for what it would take to trade for Jimmy
Yeah.
G.
Yeah. I think if they have a respectable quarterback, Cleveland is a solid playoff contending team. You
Mm.
know, Jimmy G, maybe not Super Bowl quarterback that they would dream of, but you're talking a 1 year, keep them in that playoff action and see what happens. They got two of the best running backs. Like let other pieces carry it if you need to, but you got to have somebody good enough to get them to the playoffs, and then hopefully, they catch fire and they go from there. I like Jacoby Brissett. I just,
Yeah,
it's, I don't know. And honestly, I want to see how he does because they got Amari Cooper now. If you're a run first team, if the defense shows up, Brissett could be all they need to get to the playoffs. I don't think he's taking them to the Super Bowl, but you know, without Watson, I don't think they're expecting that anyhow. So, you know, but all right, next up, Tom Brady, James. This is
who
some
cares?
weird freaking stuff, man. And
Who
maybe
gives
you
a
know
fuck?
more than me. I keep hearing some crap that he's out for a month due to family reasons. There's all sorts of rumor mill going on that he's trying to hide an injury. Some people are going as far as saying don't expect him to even play in week one. It just sounds like a lot of weird, crazy conspiracy theory stuff to me. And I kind of am thinking, hey, just pump the brakes and chill until we get some credible info. But, have you heard anything that actually tells us what the heck's going on here?
I have not. All I've heard really is what Bowles said, which was not a whole lot of, which was a whole lot of nothing.
Yeah,
And I'll read the quote from Bowles. This is something we talked about before training camp started. We allotted this time because he wanted to get in and get chemistry with the guys and go through 2 weeks of training camp, knowing he wasn't going to play the first 2 games. He didn't want to take away reps from Gabbert, Trask, as well as Griff going into these next 2 games, knowing it's something he needs to handle. And then he said, it's a personal issue. That's all I can tell you.
huh. Well, maybe he's getting a vasectomy, James.
Yeah.
Maybe he's
And then
getting his boys clipped.
Bowles later said he has a pretty high level of confidence Brady will be the starting quarterback in week one,
Man,
which
I
that's
don't,
not
I don't,
100%.
yeah, I don't like that he would even have to say that. It makes you wonder what's going on. So maybe that's where all the speculation's coming from. Is it
Yeah.
because it wasn't a definitive? Well, he's going to be back for week 1. Don't worry about it. That's how you handle that, unless there's something going on.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe there is something to monitor there with Brady. Go into a former
Which is weird.
Brady. Oh, yeah, yeah.
The last part about it, he was asked if his personal issue, when asked if he was worried Brady's personal issue impacted his commitment to the team, both said, per our conversation, I'm not worried.
Okay.
No. So I don't think, just reading between the lines, I think he just had scheduled time off.
Okay.
Prob-
And yeah, and
It's
Bowles maybe
probably,
he's not using the right
yeah.
message to make it clear enough.
Yeah, and it's probably something. Probably what it is his Giselle and him's anniversary, and they're going away or some bullshit like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, or his kid, something with one of his kids, because I mean his kids are in their what, like tens, teens somewhere.
Well, dude, he's like the only player left that's older than we are, James. So,
Yeah, he did just turn 45, so
yeah.
we'll see if
Well,
I.
hey,
It's
we'll,
not a big deal.
we'll keep an eye on it,
He'll be there for week
Yeah.
1.
Let's put that guy that's been following Elon Musk's private plane on Brady. Hey man, tell us where he's going, what's he doing, let's keep an eye on him. And let's figure out his carbon footprint while we're at it. But um yeah, going to a former teammate of Brady's from the Patriots days, James White. James, he announced his retirement. 8 seasons in the NFL, Super Bowl hero from that come from behind win against Atlanta. Man, that fucking Super Bowl was so insane. Really good pass catching running back, complimentary kind of guy, not a workhorse guy, but he was definitely a very stable piece of that running back by committee in New England for a long time, man.
Mm-hmm.
And Belichick doesn't care who you are or what you do. You need to be rock solid, or he just says, "See you later." So I think that speaks volumes to James White having an 8-year run there. If you can keep Belichick happy for that long, you moved a mountain, man.
Yeah, it's good for him.
Yeah, and it's a running back, man. They don't play that long anymore, man. It sucks, but it's a tough game, brutal game. We talked about it. Roquan Smith, James. Dude wants out of Chicago. You know, I don't even remember. Did we talk about this last week, or is this new since then?
This is new since then. Like, this happened over the weekend.
Okay, so yeah, he's wanting out, saying that they don't value him. Um, Man, it's like, he's like the only final last good piece of anything on that defense. Are they really going to let this guy go, man?
Probably. The Bears don't what the fuck they're doing.
Man, they're just like really expecting Justin Fields to just throw the team on his back without an offensive line or good pass catchers. Oh man, I don't know. I mean, I want it to happen because I'm a Lions fan. I want it to be a train wreck, but I also I'm just confused by it. And I'm actually, this might sound weird, James. I'm a little bit scared that like, what if the Bears are actually like a 500 team after all this? It's gonna, it's gonna mess with my head, man. It's like I feel like there's something crazy going on here. Oh,
uh, I I don't even know how to respond to that. Bears 500 team shit. Bears are at
2 wins,
best at best
3.
at best the 30th best team in the league.
Yeah, yeah,
At
you know,
best.
yeah. But they have a mobile quarterback, so can that be good enough to get 3, 4 wins? I don't know. So.
Well, we'll get into it in a couple of weeks. I think I have them at 3 wins. So
Okay, okay. I'm not going to peek ahead to the north, but I'm pretty sure I had them pretty far down there.
mhm.
I mean, the model, I'll just tell you, I know the model says they've got a dog shit roster. especially the offensive line. And so, they're lucky they have a mobile quarterback, because if they didn't, that offensive line would have them jacked up in a major way. Because he's mobile, if he stays healthy, that kind of keeps him in play a little bit, as long as he can keep getting out of the pocket. But he's got no one to pass to. So, and then they have no defense really. So it's gonna be a bloodbath. I don't know, dude. It could be ugly.
Yeah, it could be very ugly.
All right. Well, I don't know, man. That's all I got for the news. You got anything else you want to hit up?
The last thing I had was Deion Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear what he said about the Hall of Fame?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'm going to read some quotes in this. The Hall of Fame ain't the Hall of Fame no more. I love it. I respect it. I admire it. I think all the guys who are inducted are definitely deserving, but it needs to be a different colored jacket. My jacket's got to be a different color. And then he went on to say, there needs to be a starting 11. There needs to be an upper room. My bus don't belong with some of these other busts. That's some of these other that's in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. I'm just being honest. I'm saying what you all are thinking. A lot of you, all Hall of Famers, are thinking the same thing. This thing is becoming a free-for-all now.
Oh.
That's what the Hall of Fame is, a game changer. Not I played good, I had a good little run, I gave you 3 or 4 good years.
Do you think he's calling out Tony Baselli?
I I don't know who he's calling out, but it's like, wow, like,
Because I've heard guys talk about Tony Baselli, they don't think should get in because he had a shorter playing career. But then you get the case from the other side, which is that, he might have played longer had it not been for injury concerns. And when he did play, he was like the greatest lineman of his time. And so it's like, you know, I don't know, but it's a complicated thing how they pick these guys and they get them in there. I've always kind of wondered, at some point it just seems like somebody would say that it's getting diluted or whatever. But it's hard to make any comparisons on these guys, apples to apples, because they all play in such different eras with different players around them.
mhm.
So I don't know. This is Dion just wanting to stay prime time.
Yeah, and isn't um there's another one that he could have been calling out. Uh, Denver Broncos running back.
Oh, you're talking about Terrell Davis?
No, is it
Because
Terrell
he
Davis?
he should be in the Hall of Fame, man. I mean, he's kicked ass. He was an undrafted guy, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, Shanahan this, Shanahan that," but it takes two to tango, man. You got to have some talent too.
Yeah, but there was somebody. I might be remembering the player team wrong,
Okay,
but let me find it real quick.
sure. We'll put on the elevator music. Do 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 do. Or that might be Mario. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah,
Mario
that
Brothers.
sounds like Mario.
Okay, well, hey, that's probably better than elevator music. And you get
Uh,
like the little jump or whatever. So
yeah, I'm not finding it.
that's okay. If you think of it or you find it, you just interject. That's how it works. It's our
Yeah,
show. We do what we want. Okay, so are you good on the news then?
yeah, that's the last thing.
Okay. Well, let's move it on here, man. We've been milking the news here. Well, there was a lot to talk about. We had some good, fun, productive conversations. But moving it over to our main event, talking about the AFC and NFC West outlook. We got 8 teams here. We did 8 last week. Next week we're going to go to the South. Then we're going to wrap things up with the North. But yeah, we're looking at what do we think is going to happen with these guys? What do we project their records to be? What are just some kind of highlights that we have? And any notes, like there's player suspensions, there's, all these factors that contribute to how we're putting this together. And so let's just dive in alphabetically. AFC West. James, give me your down and dirty on the AFC West, man. How do you see this playing out?
All right, so I'm going to give you teams in this particular order. I want you to guess first if it's bottom to top or top to bottom.
Okay.
Kansas City, Denver, Vegas, Chargers.
Okay, well, based on that, I'm going to say you got the Chargers as the winner and then the
Yes.
Chiefs at the bottom. But you did
Yes.
also kind of hint that to me last week, so I knew that was
I
coming.
forgot about that. As I was saying it, I realized that.
That's okay. I could
So
have
I have
played
the
coy, but well, give me your record predictions for these
all
guys.
right. So I have the Chargers at 14-3.
Okay.
I really like what's going on with the Chargers. I mean, I'm close. Once I get to my playoff predictions, I'm close to taking the Chargers to the Super Bowl over the Bills.
Yeah, I could see
The
them
more
being a factor.
the more and more I see the Chargers, I'm looking at all these acquisitions they made. Like I'm falling in love with this team.
Me too.
Then I have the Raiders at 12-5. Look, I think I would be surprised if Derek Carr doesn't throw for more than 5,000 yards this year.
But how many touchdowns? That's the problem with the guy.
Finish. I would say I'm looking with having Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
I could say he could throw 25 to 30 touchdowns this year.
You got to give me 30 plus for me to think he's really reaching that higher level of quarterbacks.
No, and I'll give you that. But I'm saying that, like, I'm
Yeah, with
being
those yards
conservative.
and those touchdowns, it would be a very successful season.
Vegas, they made the playoffs last year. They were, what was the record last year? I'm trying to remember. They were 10-7 last year.
Yeah, with a whole litany of bullshit that they had to deal with.
Exactly. They had a whole litany of bullshit that they had to deal with. They had the whole Gruden shit. They had. I mean, first of all, Derek Carr now has a coach that believes he exists.
Yeah.
So, and just how many times was Gruden ready to get rid of Derek Carr? I was right. They were 12-7 or 10-7 last year. How many times was every offseason is Gruden going to get rid of Carr? Does like they had a terrible relationship.
Yeah.
You get McDaniels in there. McDaniels at least is going to believe in him for the first year.
Oh yeah.
And I mean I think that's going to be night and day for Derek Carr and the Raiders. You don't have all this bullshit. You don't have like the AB situation they had 2 years ago. The Gruden situation they had last year. All this off the field shit that's not going to be there. I think this team is ready to gel. I have some concerns on the offensive line, but
Yep. I was about to go there.
I have some
Yeah.
concerns, but I think they can hold it together. And McDaniel's offense with quick screens, draws
It's
and
it's perfect for Derek Carr's skill set.
yes,
Get the ball
exactly.
out fast, short to intermediate. I see it being a very good match. Okay.
Yeah. Then
Um,
I
yeah,
have
go ahead.
Denver at 9-8, and with Denver, like I really want. So going into this, I think going into the season, I think there's a chance. It's an outside chance that all four teams from the AFC West can make the playoffs.
Yeah, they all
I've
have
said that a
a
couple
good
times,
narrative. Yeah.
but I think the Chargers and the Raiders are head and shoulders above the other two teams. At 9-8, I kind of went conservative with Denver because I'm not sure how Russell Wilson's gonna come back from his hand injury last year.
Yeah.
I think they could be good, and we've talked about it that they're a quarterback away from being a contender.
Yeah.
Last year we were talking about that they're a quarterback back away from being a contender. But I have to see Wilson succeed there
Yeah.
before I'm gonna believe it because of what we've seen the last couple of years from Wilson. Granted, he was injured last year. The year before, they snuck into the playoffs and got lucky. So we'll see. And then I have the Chiefs at 8-9.
Okay.
And yeah, the Chiefs have been, what is it, like 12 years in a row they've won the fucking division. But I don't think you trade away Tyreek Hill and replace him with who they replace him with?
Oh, Juju
MVS and
Smith-Schuster,
Juju
and yeah,
Smith-Schuster.
yeah.
Like, and then the guy they drafted, who's a burner, who's a speed guy like Tyreek Hill, is. I like that acquisition, but he's going to need. I like that draft, but he's going to need some time
Yeah.
to get up to the NFL speed. And if it translates to the NFL, he might be able to take. It's what's his name? Was it Sky Moore?
Yes.
Like, thank you for confirming that. But I think once he gets up to the NFL speed, and then we'll see if he's going to be a Tyreek Hill. He looks like he has the possibility of being Tyreek Hill style, but
historically, wide receivers need time.
Yes.
You know?
So I think Kansas City's going to struggle this year. They have no fucking running game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a myth. And I think it's just going to be a struggle this year. The other teams have caught up to them.
All right, so I'm going to give you mine, and a lot of my notes, I'm going to be honest, you already kind of covered, so there's not as much for me to comment on. But I mimic your excitement for the Chargers. My model shows them going 13-4, and I'm with you. I'm super high on these guys. They are, they were really, really good on offense these last couple of years, and now they have some incredibly appealing pieces on defense as well. That it's like this could be the year if they can stay healthy. Man, they look freaking primed. Uh, this one, I'll tell you, James, I was surprised about. And, my models had a couple that have stuck out in one direction or another. This is one where I feel like they're going to underperform the model, which is the Kansas City Chiefs. It's got them at 12-5 in the model. And when I dug into it, it's really hard to pinpoint where it's coming from. How much of it is coming from the roster, how much is it coming from the coaching or the schedule, because I've got all these factors in different kind of weightings. But like the thing that I can say is they have a much stronger offensive line than I think. And I don't know. I think a lot of people do believe they have a good offensive line, but I think it's even better than what people think. And I think that their defensive line is also looking like it's going to be a lot better than what people think. And trenches mean a lot in my model. And so I think that that's possibly one of the reasons it shows them maintaining this high level of output. But I am a little bit leery of it. In third, I've got Vegas at 9-8. Um, I was kind of dogging them a couple months ago when we did this because I just don't like Josh McDaniels. When I go through the roster, it tells me this team should have more than 9 wins. Trevon Moehrig, the safety on defense, he's having a great offseason, getting a ton of hype. They really have like good depth all around. And so I was a little shocked after all this when we, from the time we did our super early predictions to now, I thought the model was going to bump them higher based on their roster. And maybe it's because I've got a little bit of a discount on McDaniel's coaching rating, which I've got a note to evaluate after 4 weeks in, just because that's kind of my practice. But either way, I don't know how much that really tips the scales. And so, I could see them going a little higher, but it is a new coach. And so whatever, I stand by the model for now. And then at the bottom, I've got Denver at 8-9. Um, I like Russell Wilson a lot. I think he's a clutch quarterback. I think he can keep any team in the game. But I do believe they lost a few more pieces on that defense than people are thinking about. And so, the team that was a quarterback away from being a Super Bowl contender, they do have some missing pieces uh, from that component. And bringing in Russ, it's all a part of it. But, I think losing Tim Patrick hurts them. They still have some offensive talent for him to get the ball to and good running backs and whatever else. But, um, 8-9, hey, it's a new head coach. I've got a low rating on the head coach. It's the same thing. Once we get into the week to week of what we're thinking, if he shows good things, his rating will boost. All those things will start to go up. Maybe it'll boost more wins in the model over time. But that's just where I've got him for now, man.
Makes
And I
sense.
can keep going if you need me to keep talking. So
No, no, no. I wanted to look something up real quick, and now I'm good.
okay,
It's the NFC West. So one of the teams in the I have in the NFC West is coming in from training camp. Probably my biggest movement I had on a team's record.
oh, can I pause you for a second?
Yes.
I did want to just come back to this because I was talking about my playoff seeding last week. You mentioned you could see a scenario where all four of these teams get in the playoffs.
Mm,
I've got two of them. I've got the Chargers with my 3 seed, and I got the Chiefs with my 5 seed. Um, you know, anything can happen. I think that if a division could ever do it, they've got the narrative to do it. But I did just want to point out that's kind of how it shook out in the model for right now.
yeah, that's what I had. I had, but it was
Vegas instead, yeah.
Chargers with the 3 and Vegas with the 2 or 5.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, yeah, sorry. Back to the NFC North, or I mean West. Sorry about that.
So the NFC West, one of these, we'll get to it in a second, but based on what I'm reading in training camp, one of these, I took a team from I had a 10-win team to a 6-win team,
Oh shit.
and I'll get to that in a second. But at the top, I have the Rams. I'm a little concerned. I was a little concerned last week about the Stafford elbow soreness. It's looking like it's less of an issue than it was being made out to be. So I'm not that concerned about it anymore. The Rams, I mean, they just keep adding players and
Yeah.
don't really take away. I don't know where they get the money under the cap. We've
Fake
talked
cap.
about the cap is fake, but I mean they just keep getting better and better, get more players, and everybody's coming back. I can't see the Rams losing much. I think looking at it, I actually have them losing to Buffalo, losing to the Chargers, and losing the last game of the season because there's no chance, or because they already have the 1 seed locked up.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you got them at 14-3. Is that right?
Yeah, 14-3.
Okay.
Previously, I had this team out of the playoffs. Next team out of the playoffs, they kind of moved back into the playoffs. Even though I'm not very high on their quarterback, Arizona, I have them at 9-8.
Okay.
I'm not high on Kyler Murray. Some of the stuff that came out about his contract and the study clause in his contract concern me. But when I look around the rest of the AFC, I only had half the teams in the NFC with a winning record.
Okay.
Where in the AFC I have,
Yeah, I'm actually the same. I got half with a winning record.
I have 11 teams in the AFC with a winning record. So if you have a winning record, with the exception of Dallas, I didn't have Dallas making the playoffs. I had them at the same record, 9-8. I had Arizona winning the tiebreaker to make the playoffs. Third in the NFC West, I have San Francisco. And
Okay.
this is the team that I had in our way too early rankings. I had them as a 10-17.
Okay.
I'm hearing terrible things about Trey Lance.
Oh shit. See,
I'm hearing
I want to talk a lot about this, but yeah, go ahead.
horrible things about Trey Lance. Yeah, tonight's preseason game, he had, which, preseason means nothing. He outplayed Jordan Love. Good for you. I could outplay Jordan Love.
On
He
Madden.
had
Yeah.
he had 92 yards. 76 of them was on one throw.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing he's missing the stuff in the flats. I'm hearing his accuracy's down, and it's just San Francisco done fucked up
Okay.
by drafting Trey Lance.
Okay.
And which ironically, we talked about the AFC East last week, but ironically, the Patriots with Mac Jones are implementing Shanahan's offense,
No kidding.
which is who I wanted to
Yeah,
draft
to
Mac
get him.
Jones.
Yeah.
They're implementing Shanahan's offense because they feel that it's the best fit for Mac Jones' skill set. Gee, I wonder who said that before.
Uh, yes.
Anyways,
Yes, you did. Yes.
I'm just hearing terrible things about Trey Lance, and he's not ready. And they've made it clear they're moving on from Garoppolo. I just I don't know what they're going to do there.
Okay.
And then at the bottom of the barrel in the AFC West, I have or NFC West. I keep saying AFC, but NFC West
Seattle.
is Seattle. I have them at 3-14,
Okay.
and I have them beating last game of the year against the Rams because the Rams aren't playing anybody. I have them beating San Francisco at home, and I have them beating the Giants.
Okay.
And I struggled with them beating the Giants.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, we talked about it, I don't know, last week or the week before, that the quarterback ratings that they have for Geno Smith and Drew Lock are bare minimum ratings. And that's bad. That's really bad. They no longer got Bobby Wagner on the defense. Chris Carson retired. I love Kenneth Walker. I think he's going to come in and do some good things. But um, yeah, it's tough, man. They look like they're lost at sea, and they need a freaking miracle of somebody to come out of nowhere and be like a dominant guy that nobody's expecting, or they're going to be a bottom feeder of a team.
Yeah.
And maybe Kenneth Walker's that guy. I don't know. Could be. Carry him on their shoulder. But all right, man. I'll give you my picks, or my predictions. And so the Trey Lance thing, like I said, I want to talk about it because my model has San Francisco is one of the most stacked rosters in the league, and their success is going to be largely determined by whether or not Trey Lance is just good or not. He doesn't need to be great.
You just
If
got to
he
say
can.
it right. It's whether or not Trey Lance can dance.
Thank you, thank you. I haven't heard that one, but I like it. Yeah, I mean it's you've got a great defense, you've got a great running
Mm-hmm.
game, you have legit receivers and a tight end and a good offensive line. All you have to do is be good, and that team can make a deep playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
If he can't even be good, it could collapse the whole thing. And so,
I think you're good is overstating it. I think he just has to be average,
yeah,
and the team
yeah,
can make a
I would
deep
say
playoff
as
run.
long as he's not subpar, let's say that,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
And I 100% agree with you. And that's why with everything I'm reading about,
Man,
um,
I've not heard this much negativity. I've heard a lot of people wondering because it's been like eerily quiet what's going on with him. Um, Man, and I even heard one guy say because it's so quiet, he was like, they still got Jimmy G. you might as well just like run the wheels off of Trey Lance in preseason to make sure he's the guy. Because if he gets
Hmm.
hurt, you can at least fall back on Jimmy G. And if he doesn't get hurt, then hopefully you got him ready to be the guy. But then you give some stuff away, and there's all game theory and blah blah blah. But it makes me nervous. And so James, my model with him being decent has them just destroying it, going 14-3, and they end
Hmm.
up being my top seed in the NFC North. It's wild, man. But like I said,
West,
it's a huge wild card.
NFC
It's
West.
Dude, I got him as the freaking one seed in the NFC.
Oh shit! I thought I heard you say NFC North, and I was like,
Oh,
let me
sorry.
go.
Yeah, no, I got him as the top seed overall for the NFC, and it's a little scary with a guy who's only played one college game in 2020 and had like two pro appearances last year. There's a lot hinging on this guy actually making the grade. And I think Shanahan's about as good of a quarterback whisperer as you can get, but it's risky, man. After
Yeah,
them,
and Kittle has been talking about that, how Trey Lance is going to make that offense better and this and that. But I'm reading things from differently from people that are seeing it.
okay. So after them, I've got the Rams at 11-6, and you know the Rams at 11-6, I think is I feel good about that number because once you win the Super Bowl, you're now the top dog. It's a lot harder to get those wins because people are just gunning for you like freaking crazy. But I will say, like you mentioned, they still have a ton of talent and one of the best coaches in the game. And it just, some of it just bothers me. And it's not them, it's just the way the league is now. I remember you go back to that Joe Flacco Baltimore Ravens Super Bowl.
Hmm.
He had this wild run. They signed him to a big contract. They had like a mass exodus of talent from that team. That is like the historical norm of Super Bowl winning teams, and it's why it's so hard to repeat. But then you get the thing like, you had with the Bucks returning all 22 starters, and now you got the Rams. It's like, they lost Von Miller. But, they brought in Bobby Wagner, and they made some changes at wide receiver. Oh, but they brought in Allen Robinson. And it's like all this shit. It's like, it just, everything from our history tells us it shouldn't work that way, but it
Hmm.
is working that way. And so, I can
Oh,
see
and
them doing better than 11 and
rumor
6, but I can
rumor
also,
is
yeah.
rumor is you know how like there was talk about, will McVay get a contract extension or a new contract, this and that.
Well,
Rumor
he got an
is
extension, didn't he?
no, no, he's saying he didn't sign an extension. There's been no
Oh,
real reporting on it,
okay.
but there was a like biography done on ESPN that kind of hinted at how he got a raise after winning the Super Bowl. Like he couldn't afford his house last year, and
Like, how
and
crazy did he go on a house?
you know the draft house that he was renting that looked fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Apparently, he bought that.
I mean, he's
Yeah,
getting X amount of millions every year.
yeah, and then
But
but
it
it
is
was
LA.
it was a lot of talk on how his financial situation improved after winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. No
Yeah,
doubt.
but
Okay.
so I think he really signed a new contract. They're just not saying it.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, yeah, either way. So 11-6, I could see that being, a byproduct of you're the king of the hill and everybody's just coming that much harder for you. But
Yeah, they have a hard schedule too. I could see that.
yeah. And then I got Arizona at 7-10. Arizona's a tough one. Nuke is out for the first 6 games. Murray has a tendency to fade towards the back half of the season. They lost Chandler Jones on that defense. Plus, I hate calling it out like this, but James Conner just got paid, which is always a bad omen for running backs, man.
Hmm.
They get paid, then they get hurt, or they disappear, or whatever it is. And so, it's 7 wins. I actually thought the model was being kind of favorable for them just because there's so many factors working against them. If we were
Hmm.
talking stocks, James would be saying, "Oh, there's a lot of headwinds for this company," But, um, you know, Murray got paid. Maybe he's got more fire than ever. And I did like the Marquise Brown acquisition. I think that he'll do them right. I think Rondale Moore is going to get better. So there are positives. It just, I don't know. There's a lot of like glaring negatives. And then at the bottom, I got Seattle. I got them at 2-15, and it's tough, man. They're in complete disarray right now. Um, 2 wins for a Pete Carroll team. In reality, they'll find a way to squeak out a few more. He's just that good of a coach, especially going back to a run-heavy approach. Even without Chris Carson, they got Rashad Penny, they got Kenneth Walker. Those guys are going to ground and pound and keep them in some games. But they're just, you got 2 great wide receivers, but you got to be able to get them the ball, man. And right now on paper, they got by far and away the worst quarterback room. And I don't know, man. I hear different things from different people. I hear Drew Lock is making big plays, but I also hear Geno Smith's not turning the ball over. And history says Drew Lock is, he's a disaster waiting to happen. He flashes, and then you get him in the game, and he's a wreck. He turns the ball over at bad times and whatever else. I think, if anything, the right move for them, go steady with Geno Smith, let the running game drive that team, and just be smart with the football. They're going to have a bad year no matter what. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah. Speaking of Seattle, what we missed in the news was Marshawn Lynch got arrested. Did you hear about
Oh
this?
shit, I did hear about this. Yeah, what
He got
what
arrested
happened though?
for DUI. Apparently, he was parked on the side of the road in a car. It was missing one wheel. The other like the driver's side front tire was missing. The passenger side tire was almost flat. He was passed out in the car. He told the cops that he stole the car.
What? Oh no, Marshawn, don't do it. Ow.
and and they had to forcibly remove him from the car to
Forcibly
arrest him.
remove him. No.
Yeah,
Beast mode.
and and then he's like, what's the problem? The car's not on. The car's not going. They no shit, it's not going. It's missing a fucking wheel. Where's the wheel?
Man, I don't like hearing that, man. I like Marshawn Lynch.
I do
This is not
too,
good.
but apparently he's facing what is it? DUI, uh, resisting arrest, and some other driving in an unregistered DUI, driving in an unregistered vehicle, failure to stay in his lane, and failure to surrender charges.
Oh man, Marshawn. There goes your Skittles endorsement. It's gone. It's over. Oh no.
But anyways, I'm sorry. It happened to occur to me when we started talking about Seattle.
It's a real bummer when you see your heroes get
Yeah.
tainted. You see the dark side. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, I know.
Uh, you know,
Anyways,
yeah.
moving on.
All right, moving on. So yeah, that's where I see the NFC West shaking out. We've got so far throughout half the league here, we've got a decent amount of differing opinions, but we do have some common ground with some teams too, which is nice. And it's good to have differing opinions. It's good to be looking at things from different angles. That's how we get a more full picture when we evaluate this stuff. And yeah, I don't know, man. I'm good. Are you good there?
I'm good there.
All right, well, let's kick it over to the question of the week. And for question of the week, James, I designed this all around the 49ers and what's going on with Trey Lance, which now you're telling me there's a lot of negative reports. And so maybe this is just a bad question, but I just want to know, does anybody out there feel the same as I do that the West could hinge on Trey Lance's performance? Because I see it as being an extremely talented roster. Like I talked about, that if he's decent, I think they could take that division. I think the Rams have an uphill battle coming off the Super Bowl. But if he's a bum, it's not even going to matter. I mean, it's just, then it's the 49ers that have the uphill battle. And so I think based off of what you're telling me, you would say it's not going to happen, and it probably doesn't even hinge on it because it just is low confidence of him getting there. But I guess I'd like to get other people to chime in. If we could get our loyal supporters to hit us up on the comments, it'd be much appreciated.
No, I 100% agree with you that there's a possibility it could hinge on his performance. I think that is very possible. I think he is the catalyst because I agree with you. Like I said, what I was hearing about his performance, I dropped them 4 wins this year.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know. I'm gonna have to, as we get closer to week 1, really dig into it and fine tune the model because that would drastically change things for what the model shows anyhow. But it's the same thing. It's like how far can I drop him when they have so many other positive things, I mean, they did so good all these years with Jimmy G, but then again, Jimmy G always was good in regular season. So
Yeah.
a little different. Okay, cool. Well, so yeah, for anybody who's still watching, hit us up, share your thoughts, tell us what you think. We hope you'll like the show. Definitely play Name That Stadium. We'll remember you when it comes time to do some swag. And next week, yeah, come on back. We'll be doing the South, AFC, NFC. James, closing thoughts, man.
Fucking Lions lost the preseason game again.
Oh, you're beating yourself up over something that doesn't matter.
But
they were fucking 4-0 in preseason the year they went 0-16, James.
Baltimore won their 21st straight preseason game or some ridiculous number like that.
Yes, I saw that. And they're proud of that. And they should be because they're a winning team. You can be proud of everything you do. But for the Lions, I'm not worried about it, man. I think it was just good that they got the starters out there. Hopefully the defense got an eye-opener that they got to fucking tackle. They got to fucking wrap people up. They got to use good, proper form. Man, I don't know. But hey, I'm excited to see more in episode 2 of Hard Knocks.
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, James, I'll catch you later, man. Like always, it was a good time. Peace out, homie.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut, hut, hike.